to say goodbye, 80s.
Hello, 90s. Welcome to Blockbuster Radio.
Destination.
Planet Hollywood.
Party of 5.
Tamagotchi, the original virtual reality pet.
So, we've been through the sacred Friday nights, and we've covered the madness of the 90s birthday. You'd think that we covered pretty much most of it, huh? There's actually a secret stash, hidden under the bed, filled to the brim with forgotten Kiwi culture. The things that I just didn't have the room for. Items too niche, too weird, or just too cursed to make the main episodes. But now, I'm gonna open up the naughty box. Because this is the bonus round. The director's cut, the deleted scenes of our childhood.
Ah, yes. I finally get to talk about Eagle Boy's Pizza, or Stallone's Pizza for all the OGs out there that remember it. It was the mysterious third child of the Pizza Hut / Pizza Haven divorce that no one really talks about, but every Kiwi kid remembers a time when they all existed in perfect harmony together. These guys came crashing onto the New Zealand pizza scene in the early 90s. Pink logo, eagle mascot, cheesy ads, and enough neon signage to give you a migraine. But let's be real, they were the underdog, the rebel. While Pizza Hut had its fancy dine-in restaurants with its all-you-can-eat dessert buffets, Eagle Boys just existed, boldly, in pink, and a fan favourite of the stoner and the late-night gamer. But here's the thing, they were bloody good. I remember the apricot chicken like it was the back of my hand. But sadly, in the late 2000s, Eagle Boys flew too close to the financial sun. Domino's bought them out in a move that was less friendly merger and more pizza assassination. But today, all that remains are the scattered memories and the occasional pink shirt spotted at a retro op shop. Gone, but never forgotten. So, most fast food joints had playgrounds, and some had ball pits, but if you're one of the chosen few that was raised anywhere near Paraparaumu in the 1990s, you had a frickin' train in your McDonald's. You could sit there and eat your chicky nug-nugs inside it, and not just a themed booth, not a cardboard cutout, an actual, honest-to-goodness, full-sized railway carriage plonked right next to the golden arches like some glorious, greasy Hogwarts Express. But sadly, like all magical and slightly unsafe things, that dream could never last forever. Sometime in the mid-2000s, the train was unceremoniously decommissioned, dismantled, removed, and possibly teleported to the McDonald's multiverse. Nobody knows for sure. If you were a kid in the 90s in New Zealand, we need to talk about the OG of midweek chaos, Telly Bingo, aka
Shush! Mum's concentrating.
broadcasted live across the nation like some sort of pensioner-powered Hunger Games. Telebingo was not your average game show. It was a full-on national event. So here's how it'd work. You'd go and buy a pre-selected lotto ticket from your local dairy or supermarket, and then you'd tune into TV1 at 8 PM on a Wednesday night. Then you'd spend 30 minutes marking your numbers, and let's be honest, no one, and I mean no one, ever fully understood how it worked. There was like 17 ways to win, and half the instructions were printed so small on the back you could barely read them. And by the end of the night, Dad would be yelling,
Do we have 4 corners? What the hell is a dreamline?
Telly Bingo was chaotic, confusing, and completely iconic. Gone by the early 2000s, but if you ask any mum from the era, she'll still say,
I almost won once. I swear.
let's set the scene. It's a sweaty December evening, and you're sticky with sunblock, high on candy floss, and you've been sitting on a picnic rug for 3 hours. This could only mean one thing. It's Coca Cola Christmas in the Park, baby. The Coca Cola Christmas in the Park wasn't just an event, it was the Super Bowl of suburban festivity. It was a giant free outdoor Christmas concert sponsored by Coca Cola, held in Auckland, Christchurch, but the real ones remember that it was held in Lower Hutt, featuring a rotating lineup of local celebrities, pop stars, and a whole lot of people that had no right to be up there. But let's not pretend that it wasn't a glorified marketing stunt by Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola was everywhere. The TV commercials, the show, the banners, the t-shirts, the little mini fridges they gave away at the prize draws that you never actually saw anyone win. But I didn't care, because it was almost Christmas, and magic was in the air. You were part of something, something special. You'd go home, sunburned, sticky, overtired, and your mum would say,
Never again.
but next year, you were back. Before McDonald's cornered the market on family dinners, and before the word gourmet ruined everything, there was Georgie Pie, founded right here in 1977. Georgie Pie was New Zealand's answer to fast food. Forget your McFeast, this was the $1 mince and cheese dream. Georgie Pie wasn't fancy, it was honest, flaky, and nuclear hot in the centre. You'd walk in, spend your pocket money, and then walk out with a meal that could physically injure you if you bit into it too fast. But then, like all good things in New Zealand, Georgie Pie disappeared. McDonald's bought them out viciously in the mid-1990s, not to expand it, but to erase it from history like a deep-fried conspiracy. Some say McDonald's fed the power of the pie, and some say it was just business. But in 2013, McDonald's brought back the Georgie Pie, but not really. They chucked a mince and cheese pie on the menu and said,
Are you happy now?
and for a moment, kinda were. But it wasn't the same. It wasn't the full menu, just a sad little pastry floating on the tray next to a McChicken. And by 2020, they pulled the plug on it again, quietly, coldly, no funeral, just an empty spot where the hero once stood. If Talk ZB was too talky and ZM was too mainstream, then there was always Channel Z. Channel Z was the cool older sibling of New Zealand radio, grungy, alternative, and slightly pretentious, and pretty iconic if you're a teenager who hated everything, including your own taste in music. Launched in the mid-1990s, Channel Z was New Zealand's dedicated alternative rock radio station. Hell, I was first introduced to my favourite band Incubus while listening to this station. It gave airtime to New Zealand alt-rock legends like Tadpole, Fur Patrol, Pluto, and Shehead. Always Shehead, and more Shehead. I think there was some good shirt in there too. It was punk, it was grunge, it was electric, but then, like all things that start pure and real and covered in distortion, Channel Z couldn't escape the cold grip of commercial rebranding, and in the early 2000s, it mutated into Kiwi FM, a station that tried to go full local music, but lost the edge, the soul, the rage, and the heart. Way before recycling bins, before cash for scrap, before people stopped caring where their cans ended up, there was BP's legendary can return promotion. You could return your cans for a chance to win. The concept was simple. Well, sort of. You'd chug your Coca Cola, and instead of chucking the can in the bin or throwing it at your sibling's head, you'd march it down to your local BP and insert it into the magical mystery machine of chances. And what did you win? Well, more cans, I guess. I never actually won anything more than another can of Coke. It was like a vicious cycle, really. So way before Wipeout, before Ninja Warrior, and decades before health and safety became a thing, there was Top Town, the show that asked a very simple question. Which New Zealand town can survive the most humiliating public injuries while being televised to thousands of Kiwis? So, Top Town was a long-running New Zealand TV series that began in the late 1970s, hit its strides in the 80s and the 90s. Each episode featured teams from different towns across the country competing in a series of utterly ridiculous physical challenges. Think human wheelbarrow races through foam, giant inflatable obstacle courses, mud pits so deep they'd claim your soul, greasy logs suspended over paddling pools, and the rules? Unclear at best. It was the New Zealand Small Town Olympics. This show wasn't just about having fun, it was about representing your region. Westport, Invercargill, Taupo, Gisborne, everyone had a team at some point. Even if they came dead last, they all came home heroes. And your PE teacher might be the team captain, and your cousin might have been the guy who slipped off the foam balance beam and landed headfirst into the sponge pit. Top Town was pure, unfiltered Kiwi energy. Long before air fryers, before gluten-free kale nonsense, there was frying sauces. And if you've never had one, I'm sorry to inform you that your childhood was missing an essential food group. Imagine, if you will, a puffed pastry, potato, meat and sometimes vegetable risole which got beamed up into space, had a passionate fling in zero gravity, and then came back down in the shape of a tasty disc. That was the frying saucer. Served at your local fish and chip shop or bought at your local pack and save, you could cook these little champions at home, and when it cooled down, they were still delicious. These little beauties were the clear winner when Mum was too tired to cook or Dad was in charge of the dinner. Like all good things in the 1990s, frying saucers quietly vanished without any warning. No press release, no farewell tour, just gone. Some say the ovens got too fancy, some say modern parents feared their kids would explode, but the truth is, we were never ready to let go. And even now, every time I walk past the frozen section, I have one look, just to be sure. So some of you may not have visited the Cupboardy Train, or maybe you've never heard of Channel Z, but even if you felt one little nostalgic spark in your stomach during this video, then you were part of it. You are part of it. This series wasn't just about snacks, shops and Saturdays. It was about who we were when the world was much simpler, when Friday nights meant VHS and fish and chips, when summer meant Christmas in the park, and when the most dangerous thing we faced was frying saucers fresh out of the oven. Those days are gone now, but the beautiful part, we get to carry them with us for the rest of our lives. Nostalgia isn't about living in the past, it's about knowing that the past lived in us, and it still does.
So cheers for hanging out with me today. If you like that nostalgia trip down memory lane, then you might like to check out this video I'm suggesting here. And you could always check out this other one I'm suggesting here. And if you really like the video, you can give it a thumbs up down here and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next one, eh?
The pirates
We're out to get you.